In the name of the one holy and undivided Trinity. Amen.
Amen.
So deeply do we care for you that we are determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you have become very dear to us. Second Sunday, number 2. We made it. Last Sunday was pretty great. Really fun. I want to say a special thank you to everyone who spent weeks preparing, making food, praying, offering gifts of song, sprucing the place up. Thank you for making that such a festival day. We had a long build-up to my arrival, 31 months, in your case, and 4 years of searching for the right place in mine. And it's possible that this week, after the big party, a question might have crossed your minds that runs something along the lines of, now what? Ta-da! Now what? That is a good question. So deeply do we care for you that we are determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you have become very dear to us. I wonder if you've ever been in a new situation where you walked into an environment that everybody else understood, but was brand new to you. Sometimes this happens when we get a new job and we walk into a new workplace. Sometimes it happens when we marry into a family culture that differs from our own. We have to learn new rules and ways of being. I've had an experience of this when I was little with church. Neither of my parents are Christian, so I wasn't raised being taken to church by them. I was, however, in rural eastern Washington, which is a highly churched geographical region. So all our neighbors, all these other farm kids and their families had me on a rota and would tote me off to church with them. Like, whose turn is it to take the heathen to church? Whose week is it? And one thing I found fascinating, even as a small child, was how the expectation for our behaviors was different in each community. In some places, the expectation was that we were cheerful and sunshiny and exuberant because we loved Jesus. We were in a very good mood because of God. And in other places, the expectation was that we were to be solemn, and we were very serious about the fact that we loved God. Now, there weren't any signs on the doors, right, stating that this is how we were to be in this space. They were just things that happened according to custom and culture built up over years. And I love hearing this glimmer of a similar thing happening in Thessalonica. Because in this epistle, we hear of a community of Jesus followers sharing the gospel together. I love this. Being together like a nurse that has gone home and is tenderly caring for her own children. There are several sentences about how they were together, talking about the message, sharing the message, the gospel truth, and then tucked away at the very end, so deeply do we care for you that we are determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you have become very dear to us. Also our own selves. Sometimes it can be easier to speak God to one another than it is to speak ourselves to one another. Perhaps this is not your experience, and I'm very happy for you if it isn't. I know that particularly here, there are long, long friendships developed over decades among people who trust and love one another with an unconditional love. As I come here, new and learning, I want you to know that so deeply do I care for you that I will speak myself to you. I'm not here to mix everything up. I know there can be a fear sometimes when someone from the outside comes in, that that person is here to judge. And the fear is always, of course, that will be found lacking or weird in some way that we don't even know about. And I want to say clearly that that's not my job. My job is to love you and to comfort you. And sometimes, don't be mad at me when it happens, to challenge you. No one can be loved if they're not known. Sometimes we can be afraid to let ourselves be known because we're scared of rejection, of not being loved or appreciated. Sometimes that's rooted in a history of rejection or abuse in our families. Sometimes it's just safer to try and be what people want. But that can't work forever. Who we really are has a way of sneaking out of us. And I think that's because who we really are is something God-given and precious. And God has a way of sneaking out of any container we try to confine God to. So deeply do we care for you that we are determined to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you have become very dear to us. How shall we do this? In this month, when we're thinking in particular, specifically about financial stewardship, I think a lot about the distilled labor that is represented every time the plate comes forward. Those checks and that cash represents your time, literally your bodies given, yourselves, condensed into representative bits of paper, and it is precious because it is you. That is a way that you share your own self with this place, and it is deeply appreciated. I wonder, too, if there's a place in your own life where you could offer a little bit more of your real self this week. That might be here in this building, but probably it is where you work or live, your colleagues, your family. When someone asks you how you are, you might pause a moment before the automatic fine and offer gently a more thorough answer. See what happens. Perhaps you might surreptitiously start looking at that painting class you always wanted to take but thought you might not be good enough for. Is there a place in your own life that could use a little bit more juice, more clarity, or more freedom? What might you say no to? Something that's been hanging around your life, dragging your soul down. Party. I pray that this week, in honor of the Thessalonians, God gets a chance to peek out of our souls a little bit more together. Because we care for each other so deeply, because we care for the world so deeply, so that we might know one another more truly, so that there's a little bit more God, more truth, more light, available and abundant for all. Amen.